Hey friends, hey friends, hey friends. This is Coach Rose AJ, Carnivore Girl for life. And get this, we have an interview today. A carnivore that
Hi.
is like 6 months in. Her name is Miss Martha, and she's going to take it away from here. And it's just going to be a natural flowing conversation. I will interject my ahs, and buts, and questions as we go along, or maybe she will be so thorough that I will not have a question at all. And it's hard for me to keep quiet, y'all, but I'm going to do that right now by shutting down the mic. I'm going to turn it over to you, Miss Martha. Handle your business.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you, Rose, for having me. This is my first interview, so I'm very excited about it. So thank you guys, and I hope you guys are doing well. So yeah, I consider myself a baby carnivore because I've only been on this for 6 months. It's not my first time doing carnivore. I did it for the first time last year, and I did well. I think I did it about 6 months, and it was around the 6 month mark that it was my niece's wedding, and that's when I had to stop because it got a little bit crazy. And then my sister's wedding, and so that got a little crazy, and so it just kind of all went off the rails at that point. And that was an eye opener for me because it helped me to realize that I can't moderate. I can't just go off plan and not have a plan to get right back on. Like I thought that it would be easy for me to get back on, but it turned out that that wasn't true. So this time around, I'm trying to do carnivore the right way, and I'm trying to stay accountable. And I meet with other carnivores, and we Zoom every Monday, and just try to, stay accountable to people because I really believe that community is so important. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, baby carnivore, only doing this for 6 months, and the reason that I started carnivore is because I've struggled with my weight my entire life, my entire life. As a young girl, um, I was fine. I was normal weight, and my brother-in-law says that he felt like I really started to put on weight when my parents separated and divorced. So that could have been, an emotional thing that I was going through with that because that was very difficult. Um, so that could have, I felt like that could have gotten me deeper into the pit. But at the end of the day, it was a choice. And carb addiction and sugar addiction is real, my friends. It is real. There are certain studies that say that it is as addictive as certain drugs. So this thing is a real thing, and I didn't realize that. For me, it was just I like food, and I like sugar, and you know, I would try to exercise, and I would do it for a while, and I would try to jog and eat right and eat the right amount of calories, and do the low fat because that's what you're supposed to do. Move more, eat less, and it's math. As long as you do the math, it'll work out for you. It's not entirely true. I do think that calories matter somewhat, but not really. I feel like if you're eating the right foods, which is what I'm learning now, your body will reward you for giving it the right nutrients and the right food. So yeah, I just always struggled with my weight, and this was years and years and years of that. And what really culminated when I was 25 in 2005 was that I was diagnosed with a rare blood disorder. It's a rare autoimmune blood disorder. It's I think every year only 200,000 cases per year of this disorder. It's called APS for short. The long word is antiphospholipid antibody syndrome. And I'll just read this right off to you. It's a disorder in which the immune system mistakenly attacks normal proteins in the blood. Um, it can cause blood clots to form, within the arteries, the veins, and the organs, and it can also cause miscarriage and stillbirth in pregnant women. And so I had heard about APS because my sister was diagnosed with APS, but hers was triggered by a birth control pill. And she had just gotten married, and the birth control pill is what triggered that. And she was in the hospital while she was on her honeymoon, and she had pain in her leg. They took her to the hospital. Turns out she had blood clots in her leg. She was in the hospital for 10 days. And so I had heard of APS, didn't know anything about it because apparently even doctors didn't know much about it to this day. But in my case, I also was diagnosed with APS. Normal day, I'm jogging on the treadmill, getting my health on, right? 25 years old, young, no birth control pills, nothing. And all of a sudden I have a pain, very, very pain, a lot of pain in my left leg. And so much so that I fell off of the treadmill. And I thought, well, maybe it's a really bad Charlie's horse. Maybe I pulled a muscle really. I don't know what's going on. And but then it subsided, and I was like, okay, I'm fine. Well, it didn't subside in the sense that it kept coming back and coming back, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely not normal. My legs started to swell up. It got so bad that I was taking classes in college, my local college, and while I was at the campus, my leg just started to feel heavy and pain, like in a lot of pain. And I dragged myself to the clinic at the on the campus, and they're like, "Oh, ma'am, it's just the Charlie's horse. You're totally fine." They checked me over, and I'm like, "Okay." So I went about my business. I went around doing my normal thing, and I'm not getting any better. And it got to the point where I'm home by myself. I'm living in New Jersey at the time. My family is all in Texas. I'm living in New Jersey at the time, except for my sister. She was in New Jersey as well. And all of a sudden, my left leg swells up big time. And I'm in tons of pain, tons of pain. All of a sudden, and I'm sitting at my couch, and then I feel like then I get a lot of chest pain. I felt like swords were cutting through my chest and coming out through the back of my back. I was in so much pain. It was crazy. At that point, I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Every time I would try to speak, I was in pain. It hurt. And so my sister was out of town. I tried calling her, but her mother-in-law was dying. She had cancer. She was on her deathbed. My sister couldn't move, and I didn't know what was going on with me. So it was kind of chaotic. And I don't know how I made it through that night. I couldn't lay down because if I lay down, I wouldn't be able to breathe at all. What little breath I had was, it was like taking sips of water. It was just a sip of oxygen at a time. All night long, hour after hour after hour, pain across my chest, pain across my back. Now, I didn't know this, but there were blood clots that had been in my left leg that had traveled up to my lungs. And so I was having a pulmonary embolism.
Martha, just ask you. You tried to call your sister who was out of the area for a time being, and you were 25 years old with all this happening. You didn't think about going to the emergency room or contacting
Yes,
medical services.
yes, except that I couldn't move. At that point, it was too late. So I couldn't reach for a phone. I was in too much pain, and my left leg felt like a piece of wood. It felt like like I was dragging a piece of wood, and I couldn't move. I couldn't move at all. I tried reaching for the phone. It was too far away from me. I couldn't. It would require too much oxygen for me to get there. And I felt like what little oxygen I had was just to survive in that moment. So it was, all these thoughts are going through my head at the same time. I don't know how I survived the night. I didn't know what was going on with me, but I did survive the night. And in the morning, believe it or not, I had my legs up on the couch. I was sitting up all night. I didn't lay down ever. Uh, by the morning, I was able to get up. So I was surprised by that. I'm like, wow. Eventually, my sister and I were able to get myself to the hospital, to a doctor's appointment, and they checked me. And I'm waiting in the waiting room for results. And they come out, and the doctor says, Miss Banda, you cannot leave the hospital. You have blood clots in your body. We have no idea how you're still alive. So at that point, I'm scared and I'm nervous and I'm sweating all over. And so they wheel me into emergency room. They run all of the tests and they let me know. And the difference between my sister Sandra and myself is that with her, they know what triggered it for her. It was the pill. But for me, to this very day, they have no idea. They have no idea. And so it's a rare blood disorder that I knew that I would have to deal with for the rest of my life. And they basically tell you it's very similar in certain ways to lupus, but I got tested for lupus several times over the years and I've never been positive for that. But yes, it can be very deadly. I have had blood clots that have happened after that occasion, not to that severity, but that was a big eye opener for me in regards to, okay, something has to change with my health. Am I in control at all about what to do about my health? All I knew was that I had to lose weight, but I didn't know what role uh, that carnivore existed in that maybe there was a possibility of that being able to help autoimmune disorders or diseases.
So when you said that you had a couple of more blood clots after the major incident and whatnot, how were you able to tell that you had those blood clots in the aftermath? Were
By
there
the mercy of
signs?
God, by the mercy of
Okay.
God. And the
Okay.
reason is that so fast forward a decade from that incident. So it's 2015. And in 2015, I didn't know this. Doctors never told me this. I've seen all kinds of specialists over the years, pulmonologists and hematologists and vascular surgeons. And no one had ever told me that if you had had blood clots in your left leg before, that it could damage your veins and that eventually they could burst and create ulcers in your leg. Well, fast forward 10 years from that incident, and that's exactly what happened to me. So I had two ulcers in my leg, of which I still have scars for, and they wouldn't heal. They got worse and worse. It felt like my body was burning from the inside out, where those ulcers were.
Oh, did you feel the ulcers on your legs or were they visible from the surface?
Yes. So at first, I couldn't see them on my leg when it first began. I just thought I had a spider bite or something because I was visiting my brother and he lived out in the country. And I thought, I guess something must have bitten me while I was out there, right? You're in the wild. But no, days later, I'm still in pain. And all of a sudden, I see an ulcer opening up in my leg, go to the doctor. She didn't think it was a big deal. She gave me some kind of antibiotic, blah, 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 send me home, fine. Uh, Still wasn't healing, didn't do anything. Uh, it was ugly. If you've ever had an ulcer, you know how ugly those are. Got worse, opened another ulcer, same leg. So, and it seemed to be in the same line. The ulcers seemed to be in the same line as, like probably coming from the same vein. So when I went to see different specialists. It was a whole ordeal for several years in order to have those ulcers heal. And so getting back to those blood clots, the reason that I found those blood clots was because I finally found what was going on. I had a vein ablation done, which was painless. It was fine because they have new technologies now, and so it was an in and out procedure. Um, and but at and I had a specialist that was cleaning my wounds every week and all of that stuff. So I spent a lot of money on and anyway, it stopped healing. It was healing really well, no problems at all. They were both healing very well. It was almost completely closed, both of them. And then it reopened again and it stopped healing. I was like almost at the finish line and and so it became an ordeal again. And we're trying to figure it out. And while I'm at the doctor's office and she's cleaning the wounds, one of the nurses said, we should get an MRI done. We should check her leg because something is wrong here. There should be healing. And so what it was is that I had blood clots under at the bottom of my knee, and that was obstructing blood flow, which was not allowing proper healing in my leg. And so that happened a few years ago. And so that happened, and I had to go through certain treatments for that. And then after that, they recommended I get a really fancy, because I also have lymphedema because of the blood clots in my left leg. I have lymphedema in my left leg, and because of the vein ablation I had to do. And so I had this fancy monitor thing and this garment that wraps around my left leg that massages my leg in order to treat the lymphedema. So I was having to do this every day. And on top of that, I was wearing a compression stocking in my left leg during the day. So it was, I felt like my whole life was revolving around my left leg for years now. And I just knew, what, something has to give, like something has to change. I can't live this way. I decided at one point, I cannot live this way. And so I had done keto for a little while, but again, like a lot of people that do keto, I couldn't stay on it because I'm a carb addict. It is what it is. I'm a carb addict. I'm a sugar addict. I cannot moderate. It took me a while to get to that point, and but I did. But when I started hearing about carnivore, I started to see so many testimonials of people that it was helping them with their autoimmune disorders. And now mine is very rare. People don't normally get what I have, but I figure, you know what? It's worth a try. I had a conversation with my hematologist one day. Maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago. And I just had a heart-to-heart with him because he really wasn't doing anything. They were just making sure that I go monthly to get my blood checked because my numbers have to be in a certain range for warfarin, because now I take warfarin every day in order to regulate my APS. And so my numbers have to be in a certain range to be in a healthy spot. And in one of those appointments that I had with him, I told him, Doctor, you don't really know a whole lot about APS, do you? And he looked at me and he said, no, ma'am, I don't.
Clued you in, Miss Martha, that he did not know a lot about your condition and prompted you to advocate for yourself and ask him if he knew.
What prompted it is that I was tired of living this way. I was tired of living with, am I going to get more ulcers? Am I going to have to see doctors like this for the rest of my life? Do they have any answers for me? I needed to know. And you know what? Even though his answer was eye-opening, it was also a relief in a certain way, because I was like, you know what? I need to adjust my expectations of what doctors can do. We tend to think that doctors have the answers for everything. Well, no, this is a rare blood disorder. And there's a lot that science still doesn't know. There's a lot that we don't know. And I can't expect those kinds of answers from the doctors. And now we're learning that really they don't know a whole lot about nutrition either. So, but it was almost a relief when he said that, because it was like, okay, then what this means is that I have to take my life in my own hands. It's not in his hands anymore. He can monitor me. He can give me suggestions according to what little he knows or what a lot he knows, because he might not know a lot about APS, but he knows a lot about other things. And so I was like, okay, so you can either shrink away and die or decide, you know what, I'm going to try to do my best to live my best life. And so that's where I decided I have to do something about this. And just like there are keto communities and carnivore communities, there are APS communities online. And, they have their communities where they talk about their symptoms and what's working for them and what's not working for them. And so I decided that I really feel like that was a huge point in my life where I was like, okay, I have to take control of my life. And I have to figure things out as I go. They don't have all the answers, so I have to do my best. I have to experiment and I have to tweak and I have to try this. And if that means trying a diet that I would never in my life ever try, then that's what that means. Even if it seems weird to people, even if they have a problem with it, you know what? They don't pay my medical bills.
Well, let me ask you this. You said that you were doing the ketogenic diet um, first, but can you tell us what time frame you did that? Was it like 2 years ago, 5 years ago? And how long did you stay on the ketogenic diet and what improvements did you see? And
Yeah.
also what prompted you to just transpire or to transfer into the carnivore community?
Yep. I think I tried keto in about 2017, I want to say. And that was only because my sister was doing it. My sister, the one that has APS. And so Sandy was doing it. And the only reason she tried it was because she's always suffered from migraines. And so she wanted to see if it would help her. And it started to help her. But she also started to see that she was doing well and she was losing weight and feeling great. And so I come over one day to visit her. We're best friends, so we're together all the time, and she does a lot of research. By the time she's telling me about something, it's because she's done a lot of research, and we both do research together on APS as well because we both deal with it. So we connect in many ways. And so she was telling me about this, and I was like, that is weird. What do you mean? What do you mean? All these eggs, and what about cholesterol? And all the normal questions that everyone has when they first hear about keto and stuff. So I first heard about keto through her. I did it and I did very well. I lost weight very quickly. I think I was on it for like 7 or 8 months, something like that. And I went down almost 70 pounds, almost 70 pounds. And it was at that point, when you've been doing it for about 8 months or so, I felt pretty confident in myself. In fact, I got overconfident because I thought that I could jump in and out. Now that I had the answer, I can jump in and out of keto whenever I wanted. And that was my downfall. And that was my downfall the first time I did carnivore, which was last year also. But the first time that I did keto, that was really, really bad because I mean, I went down the rabbit hole. And as much as I wanted to get back on track, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And it was hard. It was
Oh,
really hard. And I gained all that weight back.
so you were on the ketogenic diet, if I'm understanding you correctly, for 7 months. 8 months, you lost 70 pounds. You got confident. What did your in and out look like? Can you explain that? Because it could be a different definition for everybody. What does that mean?
Sure, sure. So I started doing the keto treats. Before there were all these keto treats in the market. I was making my own cookies. I wasn't buying them. I wasn't buying keto cookies or keto donuts or whatever there is out there. I was making my own. So I would make my own cookies and my own keto pancakes and my own keto this and keto that. So I felt like I was doing well, but it really was a trigger for me to get addicted to more carbs. And so when the holidays would roll around, I said, it's Christmas time. I'm going to eat whatever I want and I just get back on keto whenever I want. And that didn't happen. I got addicted and I could not get out of that hole.
Oh, I can identify with that so much. So on December 2nd, 2018, I transitioned into the ketogenic diet from the standard American diet, along with the intermittent fasting. And I rode that rodeo until a whole year, until January of 2020, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
kept being triggered. I kept trying to make foods that were similar to the standard American diet. And I didn't understand about sugar addiction at the level that I understand it now. So
Yeah.
keto can be very healing for a lot of people. However, it sounds like you and I are in the same club. You just take one bite of something. Moderation is a total myth for me. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Abstinence is what truly wins in my book, right?
I tried to
Mhm.
moderate, and I tried it with carnivore last year too. And I
Mhm.
I really, honestly, it was hard for me to admit to myself
Yeah.
that I am an addict. I can't moderate. I can't. Like I just
So let me ask you, before you went into carnivore, how long was the gap of time between the ketogenic diet, you gaining weight, and then you being willing to try carnivore for the first time? And what was that
so
like?
that was about 2017 when I tried keto. And because I was also dealing with my leg and the ulcers and doctor visits, like I couldn't continue on the diet because the situation was dire in that I was in a lot of pain. My ulcers got big. It opened up like holes in my leg. I was having to clean the wound every single day, twice a day, in the morning and the evening. I had to wash it in a certain way. I had to, it was an ordeal of years, not a few months. It was an ordeal of years. Doctor visits in between all of that, having to go to the doctor, them having to clean it, which was very painful. I would be driving home in tears in pain. So I wasn't thinking about diet at that point. I was thinking about, I don't want to be in pain anymore. I would wake up in the middle of the night in pain, in tears, like, God, when is this going to end?
So, out of curiosity, what kinds of foods were you eating during these couple of years then?
Anything,
Anything?
anything that I wanted. I wasn't overeating, but I was eating whatever I wanted.
Okay. And it sounds like your overall quality of life was severely impacted during this
Mm-hmm.
time frame. So were you able to go out, like go to church, go to work, go to social gatherings, or did you limit those outings?
They were very limited. I basically became a hermit during that period because I couldn't stand being in pain for very long. Even when I was at work, that already was enough of a sacrifice for me. They bought me a stool where I can keep my legs up, and that's how I would work at the office. And but I was taking Tylenol every day just to get through the day. And so it was, honestly, those years were just survival years. I wasn't thinking about nutrition. I was just thinking about how do I make this end?
And so what did the doctors recommend for your pain other than the Tylenol? Because that's pretty harsh on on your body, especially if you use it on a continuum, right?
Yes,
So what
yes.
were they advising you to do for pain tolerance or management?
There really wasn't much that they could say about that. They just needed it to heal. And once it would heal, then I wouldn't be in pain anymore. And because it was deep, healing was delayed because of the blood clots that happened in between there. We were almost at the finish line. My team of doctors, my nurses, we were all so excited for me. I was excited. I felt like I was getting somewhere. And then to have this all come crashing down, it was devastating. I mean, I wouldn't say that I was in depression, but I was going through a rough patch, and a lot of tears and a lot of pain. And I would I lead worship at my church. I sing at my church, and I was still going to church most of the time. But I would, I'm not kidding you. On Wednesday night service, we would only have like Bible studies, but I would go up there limping with my guitar. I'd sit on a chair and I'd lead worship from my chair because I just felt like all I had was God. And so I just leaned a lot on my faith. And I was like, you know, life might take away everything from me, but I still have my voice and I still have my fingers to play guitar. And you're not going to take away my song from me. And so I just became a fighter at that time. I didn't want to just be a survivor. I wanted to be a fighter. And I didn't have the answers as far as how I was going to get better, but I knew that I couldn't slink away.
All right, girlfriend. So this is what I want to hit at. So you did the ketogenic diet. There was a period of time where you ate, I'm assuming, standard American diet or whatever you call your fuel between those periods. So how many years, months was it between ketogenic diet and you starting carnivore for the first time?
Yeah, so the first time was last year
Hmm.
in 2022. And so let's say from 2017 to 2022, in that period is when I was off. And because there was a lot of in and out doctors, in and out, and not going out, not seeing my friends, not socializing. And I'm a very social person, so that was really odd and difficult for me. Um, but finally, last year I was able to do that, and I figured out that I couldn't just moderate uh, once and for all. And so, what really catapulted beginning again was one, that I was feeling better. My leg healed. Everything that we were doing was working. We figured out how to make it work, and I healed completely. I haven't had any recurring issues since it's been 2 years now. And last year, the reason that I started was because my brother Joey, passed away in September of 2021, and he was from complications of diabetes. And my dad had died of complications of diabetes as well. And they both died young. My dad at 59, my brother at 51. And that really was what a wake up call for me, as far as, okay, now that I'm feeling better, it's time to do better. And it's time to get my nutrition right. And it's time to get healthy. And that's really what motivated me. I decided, I'm not going to go down because of diabetes. This is a curse, and we need to get rid of it, and we need to cut it, and we need to uproot it. And I finally was able to deal with this other thing. I'm going to deal with this head on, and if it can help me with APS, all the better.
It's beautiful. So that was your first entree into carnivore
Mm-hmm.
that led you in there. Then what was the period? What was the first time that you went into carnivore? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so because I had done keto before, I decided that when I was going to go into carnivore, that I needed to do it slowly. So because I didn't want to have the keto flu and all that kind of stuff. So I actually just started going from 3 meals to 2 meals a day, and then from 2 meals to 1 meal a day. And then after that, I started to transition to just keto foods. And then from there, I transitioned to carnivore food. So it was very planned out the way that I did it when I went into carnivore. And yeah, I did really well with that. It wasn't until around 6 months later, I started in January, and it wasn't until about 6 months later at my niece's wedding that everything kind of went awry. And I was like, I'll be back on carnivore soon, and that didn't happen. By the time I knew it, it was Christmas.
So in that first experience with carnivore, what was some of the wins that you had? What was some of the non-scale victories that you experienced?
Yeah. Well, one of the main things is, so in APS, there tends to be swelling in my leg. In fact, that's why I wear the compression stockings still to this very day. And I was still doing the therapy for the lymphedema. And I was noticing that carnivore was keeping my inflammation in my leg down. So it wasn't as, uh, uh, it wasn't as pronounced as it had been. It wasn't swelling up as much as it had been, which is a huge win for me. Which also meant that I could decrease my therapy for my lymphedema. I was doing my therapy every single day. I have a fancy monitor and this fancy garment that I wrap around my leg from my toes all the way to my thigh. And it's very helpful. And, it's 45-minute therapy. And I was doing that every single day. And it runs from the toes up, 45 minutes. So I was doing that every day. And when I did carnivore, I noticed that I didn't have to use it as much anymore because it was keeping it pretty down. And so that was one of the first things. Another thing is that with APS, you tend to be very fatigued, very fatigued. And with carnivore, I don't take naps, girl. I've got energy for days. For days. Yesterday I was decorating my Christmas tree up and down on the ladder. It's a tall Christmas tree. I'm putting the ornaments, and then I do this, and then I do that, and I have energy, and so no naps, no carb crashes, because you're fueled. Your body's fueled constantly. So that's another huge thing for people that have APS. I really recommend carnivore because it can help you get rid of that fatigue, because you with that fatigue that just it doesn't allow you to do anything with your time. It's not a nap. It's like I'm out for the day kind of thing. So there's that. So yeah, in regards to non-scale victories, those will probably be the two main things for me that I have to deal with APS every day.
Okay, and then you move forward into the new year and you have a couple of family events that are celebrations.
Yeah.
And it was the first bite of something that got you off of your carnivore journey.
Yeah, it was the wedding. The
Yeah.
wedding day. On the wedding day was my first day off of carnivore in that month of June. And it was the day after because we had a lot of family and friends, and then it was and then helping my sister. My sister was getting married, which was my niece's mom. She was getting married in a few months. And so it was like one party after another. And we were in celebration mode because remember, the year before then, my brother had passed away. And so we went, I'm the youngest of seven. We have a large family. And so we went from mourning my brother's death, and he was one of my best friends. I love him. It still makes me emotional when I think about him, and it still makes me upset that he's not here with us and that we could have prevented this, you know. But we went from mourning to a lot of celebration the year after that. And so it was like one thing after another that kind of led me going off the rails. And it was at that point last year where I was like, okay, I need accountability. I was Lone Ranger. I didn't know anybody in the carnivore community. And so I was like, and nobody in my family's doing carnivore. So, or keto. So I really was Lone Ranger on this. I did good for a while, but I figured out, okay, I need accountability with somebody.
So you said that there was a gap of time between your initial carnivore experience and the one that you're on now. So what got you back in to the rodeo the second time around? And are you here to stay?
Yes, definitely here to stay. I got back on May 29th of this year. So from that June, so fast forward a year, basically, went through the holidays, my niece's wedding, my sister's wedding, the holidays, all of that. We get back around. I thought that I would be able to start it in January. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I'm telling you, I am an addict. And I was like, I need help. Like I need help. Like I need to be in a group just so that I'm accountable every single day. And May 29th, was on May 28th, one of my best friends, she messages on Instagram, and she's like, that's it. I've had it. I'm going to get healthy. And I need somebody that's going to get healthy too. And we can be accountable. And I was like, I'm with you, sister. Like, I just needed somebody to say it so that I could be in agreement with someone. And I was like, let's do this. And she doesn't do carnivore. She doesn't do keto, but she exercises a lot and she watches what she eats. But I knew that I had to do carnivore. It was the answer. It was the way for me. And we started on the same exact day, May 29th. And she did her first marathon a few weeks ago, and I'm down 36 pounds. So we're doing well.
Rock stars, you are. You are. So what's different? You have a partner in crime, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. You have your
Yeah.
support. And and I want to say that everybody needs to check out Livin' La Vida Carney. Did I pronounce it correctly? Check
Yes.
out her YouTube channel. She's phenomenal. And you
Thank you.
also just recently had a post about your first Thanksgiving as a carnivore. So that was really
Yes.
nice to watch. There was very
Thank you.
scenic, your vacation and whatnot. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? How this season was
Yes.
different than previous holiday seasons?
Definitely. So I had originally, my family and friends had originally planned to spend Thanksgiving in Israel. We had this planned out for months ago, and I was preparing months ago, like, how am I going to eat? How am I going to do it in Israel? They eat different, and I know because I've been there before once. About 10 years ago. And so I was like, oh man, this is going to be difficult because you can be in the city one moment and in the next, and by the afternoon, you're in the desert somewhere. And they have different foods, and you have to be prepared for stuff like that. So I was planning ahead. Do I need to buy some carnivore bars, or what am I going to do? Yeah, some carnivore crisps or something. But it turns out that what happened in Israel, and they're going through war at the moment, and so that trip had to be canceled. And we were like, well, twiddling our thumbs. I don't feel like cooking me either. I don't feel like cleaning me either. Let's do something else. So we needed to get out of the city. We hadn't had a trip since our brother Joey had passed away. So we decided for a few of us to go on a small trip to the Smoky Mountains. And I was like, okay, this is going to be my first holiday because I had determined beforehand that over Thanksgiving I was not going to have. I was going to stay strict. I was going to do complete carnivore, no cheats. And I needed it. I knew that I needed it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to accomplish it somehow. So I need a plan. So now I know that for everything I need a plan. So, I mean, I'm writing down my plan. I talked about it on YouTube. I told my friends about it. I told my family about it. I told the mailman about it. Anybody that wanted to hear about it. Girl, I was telling them about it because I am determined to be accountable this time because I need to get this right. I have to do this for myself. And I really don't care what anybody says anymore. Don't even care what my doctor's opinions are. I'll listen to them. I'm respectful, but I really have to do this for myself. And so I'm doing everything that I know to do. I joined a coaching group, a carnivore coaching group, and that's helping me tremendously. We meet every Monday, and it's about 50 people in there, 30 to 50 people in there every Monday. And it's nice to be able to, I didn't know how much that would help me, but honestly, it really has. Just being in the room with all these people that know exactly how you feel, that are going through the same things, that are going through the same challenges, that we're doing challenges together. How about this month we do this, and how about this month we stay away from dairy, or different things like that that can help you stay motivated. And that really has made this time around all the difference for me is getting connected with the carnivore community, including with you, and like meeting so many beautiful people like Susan and my friend Miss Lady Tay. I mean, she inspired me a lot too. And everyone's stories is like, you know what, I can do this. Like, I can do. People are eating right on the holidays all the time. They're staying strict all the time. I can do this. I mean, why not? And so I was determined, and I did it. So yay,
Yes, go you.
it was awesome.
And and I would say that this way of eating or this way of life, it's a commitment to yourself over and over and over again,
Yeah.
right? And I like the
Yes.
way that you said that you plan things out, you think it out, you talk it out, and you're in a carnivore coaching group because that can
Mm-hmm.
make all the difference. And I
Yeah.
love the term Lone Star because I'm an absolute Lone Star on things. But recently I was like, oh, community, there's value in community, right?
Yeah.
There's real value in that. But when we let the ego go and really open up to what can help us, you're finding it. You're going to be awesome. six
Yeah,
months in.
I would have never started a YouTube. I had never had any desire to do a YouTube channel. I never, um, I didn't care. Like, I was totally fine being behind,
Yeah.
my iPad, watching everyone else's channels. Uh, Really, the reason I'm doing it is to stay accountable And because the channels that have inspired me are the ones that start from the bottom, where they're starting out and you're living it, you feel like you're living it with them as they're sharing, their ups and their downs, and when they're sharing when they're on day 52 and when they're on day 200, and when they had when they feel that they let people down on day 300, and it's helpful to know that somebody else is going through it too, and especially when you don't have anyone in your life that's doing it. So I'm really finding a lot of value this time around in surrounding myself with the community. And if that means that I have to go out of my way and out of my comfort zone, I'm used to speaking in front of people. I lead worship at my church. I'm used to sharing God's word, and I'm used to singing. I can do that quite well, but I'm not used to YouTube channel in front of lots of people. But you know what? I care about my health that much. I really do. I really, I've been through too much to get to this point and be like, the heck with it. No, like I need to live a life that I'm proud of and that I feel good with, and that can inspire other people as well. And if the channel only helps people to inspire them to also try something maybe that they never would have tried before, I mean, it makes it all worth it.
I have to agree with you that our life stories or our life experiences, they were placed there for one reason or another. It doesn't matter what the reason is, right? But when we come
Mm-hmm.
to a point in our healing, in our journey, to me, it would be totally selfish if I kept it all to myself and just
Yeah.
pranced on and people thought that I was always this way, right?
Right.
So being vulnerable and being willing to share your story, yes, hopefully it will inspire someone else. But the key word here is although it may inspire someone else, they need to take action, any kind of action, right?
Yeah.
So what prompted you to take that first initial action? Because it sounds like you went through three, from keto all the way through your ulcers, healing and whatnot, to carnivore, off carnivore train, back to carnivore train. So what were some of those things that ignited you to begin? That's where I like to start with people. What started you? What made you begin? What prompted you?
Mm-hmm. This year, this year I would say that when I uh, my brother, my brother, um, you go through a mourning period, and I just decided that I couldn't give up. Giving up was not the answer.
Not an option, right?
It's
It's
not an
really
option.
not an option. You
It's
know,
not
I,
an option.
I always say, so long as we're clothed in our right mind and we can make decisions for ourselves that even override the medical profession and our families' opinions, so long as we're clothed in our right mind and we can do that. But it sounds like that you may have had some choices that you were making when you were on the standard American diet and you were weaving in and out of different dietary protocols. You were trying, but being
Mm-hmm.
weighed down by those choices and perhaps addiction to certain
Mm-hmm.
food-like substances, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now that you're free of those, do you have any like artificial sweeteners that you use or anything that's not whole foods based or anything that you found that works for you that doesn't trigger you?
I am very strict. Yeah, so it was all or nothing for me. So I just decided that I wanted to be strict. And even dairy, I think I've had it 5 times in the past 6 months. Little pieces of cheese, and that was usually charcuterie boards because my family would gather, and that's usually the only time that I would have cheese. Just so they can feel like I'm participating. So even during the week, I do drink coffee, but during the week, I only drink black coffee. And on the weekends, my treat for myself, because I love coffee, my treat for myself is putting heavy whipping cream in my coffee. That's like, woo, that's like going wild on the weekends for Martha. But other than that, no, I'm very strict. No sweeteners whatsoever. None. Zero. Zilch. It's meat and eggs and beef tallow and butter and duck fat. And I think the only thing that I give myself a little bit of breathing room on is, I mean, I am Mexican after all. So occasionally I gotta have my salsa. So I might have put a little salsa on my meat. It's not often. That's a treat. But like I'll put Tabasco sauce on my whenever I do have sardines, which isn't often. I know people like sardines a lot. I just have them occasionally. But when I do, I put them on a little pork rind, put a little the sardine on top of that, little Tabasco sauce, and that's how I eat them. But other than that, no, I'm really strict.
So, do you ever think you'll try to reintroduce some foods that were safe foods or okay foods for you in the past? Do you think you'll reintroduce some of those in the future?
So I think I will be very reticent to do that because of my past, because I've been overconfident in the past, because I thought that I could come in and out whenever I wanted in the past. Now I know that I have a major weakness, and this is a problem. And I just can't come in and out like maybe other people can. I cannot. And I've finally come to the realization of that. Now, I did have a video where I told people I don't want you to be surprised. I'm going to be strict over Thanksgiving, but at Christmas Day, I am going to have on the 24th and 25th, I will be off carnivore. And that's because we have a major tradition in my family of tamales, and we we used to make tamales for a living, and we did that for a decade, and it's a huge part of our family, and it's also a huge part of our coming together. So we come together at Christmas time, my brothers and sisters and their spouses, and now my nieces and nephews that are grown, and they're learning how to make tamales. And it's what we have left of my dad. It's what we have left of my brother. It's what we have left of my mom, and she's still with us, but she can't really make them anymore. And so it's our family tradition. And so I decided, of all the things that I'm going to give up, I just can't bring myself to give up that because of that emotional attachment to that. But I have a plan. I had to write it down, and I talked about it on YouTube, and I'm talking it to my group, and I'm talking about it to my friends and to my family. And you guys please help me with this, because I need to succeed in this. And I'm telling you, I'm where I failed last time because I wasn't accountable. This time I'm making sure that the world hears about it and that they keep me accountable.
But it sounds like you're keeping yourself accountable to you as well, right?
Yes, yes,
So, what are the parameters around the 24th and 25th? I know it sounds like a celebration from the beginning to the end, because I've read books as well as how there's like an assembly not line. The youngest has a task to the oldest has a task, right? So it
yes.
sounds like it's great fun. People are laughing, celebrating music, catching up on family gossip, the whole nine. So, um, are you planning on eating a certain amount, or are you planning to just do what you do for those 2 days and then leave it behind and carry on the 26th? Tell me what your plans are, girl.
So yeah, so I'm gonna eat whatever I want. However, I'm also afraid of having digestive issues. And so I've decided that even though I'm going to eat tamales and I have, well, some sweets, I can't have two pieces of pie, and I can't have all the chocolate, and I can't have all the, I can't, like, it's going to hurt me. Like, I know it's going to hurt me. So whatever I do, it has to be minimal, and I still have to watch how much I eat of those things. And so I'm going to be, honestly, all day long, I'm just going to be thinking about it. I'm going to be like, okay, how much of this can I have? I'm going to be keeping myself in check, because it'll be my first time. And so Christmas is going to be a huge test for me. No doubt about it. It's going to be a huge test for me. But I felt like I was able to succeed at Thanksgiving and to not be afraid of standing up for myself and saying, this is what I'm going to do. And this is not about anyone else or hurting anyone's feelings. This is about me. And so I feel like I have to approach it with that same attitude for Christmas. So I am going to give myself some leeway, but I also understand what my weaknesses are and that I have to keep myself in check. So I don't intend to go crazy those 2 days because first digestive issues, but more importantly, I need to be able to get myself right back into my plan like I've been planning to.
Um, So sounds like you are ready beyond ready. And you have accountability coming from all angles, from social
Yeah.
media, from yourself, from your family, and your church and social aspects. So I want to say it's been so nice getting to know you, Miss Martha. I
Thank you.
appreciate you
Likewise.
doing this interview with me. And would you like to close out with any words to my audience?
Sure. So thank you so much, Rose. I really appreciate you and getting to know you. And I hope you can come on my channel as well. I would really love that. I'd be honored to have you on. And you've been doing this for a while, so I'm sure there's so much that I can learn from you as well. And I've seen your videos where you're killing it at the gym and stuff. And I'm not killing it, girl.
Oh,
I'm not killing it yet. I'm still baby carnivore, but I'm gonna get there. I
okay.
promise.
Yeah.
But no, what I would tell people is that, you know, there's a lot of smart people, a lot of doctors, a lot of nutritionists that mean well. The people in your life mean well and they love you, and the advice they give you is well meaning, but it could also be wrong. Just because it's well meaning doesn't mean that it's right. And if you're in the place that I was, where you finally have to admit to yourself, you know what? I'm an addict to this stuff. I just can't quit you. Well, then you know what? There is a way of eating that can help you to not have cravings. And I've never experienced this outside of carnivore. I didn't experience this with keto. I still had cravings with keto. But when I did carnivore and when I got strict about carnivore, that's really what changed it around for me in regards to getting rid of all the cravings. I didn't crave for sugar. I didn't crave for pies. I didn't crave for Little Miss Debbie or her friends or anybody else. I was satisfied, and it feels so good to feel satisfied during the day and not be hangry all the time, which is how I was when I was doing low fat and how I was when I was doing vegan. I did that. How I was when I was juicing. Don't get me started on the juicing, okay? So
Like,
it's give yourself a chance and go out on a limb maybe. Maybe you're the only one in your life that would be eating this way, but you know what? It's okay to try it for 90 days. Just give it 90 days. If you don't feel good after 90 days, if you don't see any benefits, if you don't think it's helping you at all, then you can just write it off for the rest of your life. But I'm telling you, if you give it 90 days, it will change your life so much that you won't want to stop. I can promise you that. I can promise you that.
we are warriors for the carnivore diet, Miss Martha and
Yes.
Rose AJ. Okay, I forgot to ask you, girl, what are your favorite meats? What are your favorite animal-based
Yeah.
meat? Well,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. So here's something that I had recently that is not a favorite among carnivores, but I'm Mexican. Okay. So, and so the typical is I love pork belly. I don't have it very often, but I do love pork belly. I like to air fry it in my air fryer. And my favorite carnivore meal, aside from ribeye, because everybody loves a bone-in ribeye, 20 ounce, give it to me. But I really love beef flank and ribs. beef flank and ribs, stick them in the air fryer, uh, with some Redmond's smoked salt. With the smoked salt, it's so good, y'all. It's the way.
Flank and
And
ribs. Flank and ribs. Do
yes,
they have enough meat on them? Because I'd be like, ooh, you
it
charge me
doesn't
this
need
much per
pepper.
pound.
You just put the smoked salt on it. It doesn't need
No,
anything but the smoked salt.
I'm saying them
So
little
good.
bones in the side. I'd be like, girl, you better give me about 23 of these to fill me up. Okay.
Yes, yes. That's probably one of my favorites. But just recently, because I'm Mexican, we love menudo, and menudo is beef tripe, which is not something that normally carnivores eat. But all my Mexicans out there, I could still have menudo. So I love that. We only make it around the holidays, and my mom just made it a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, and it was so good. And it's so nice to still have some kind of my Mexican culture that I can keep in regards to food anyway.
I love it. I love it. Do you eat fish at all, like salmon or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't dislike it. I like it, but
Mhm.
it's not something I want to have often.
No, it's not my jam
You
too
know,
much
it's
either.
it's
I got you.
fine. It's fine,
Mhm.
but it's not like, ooh, I don't get excited about salmon. I love eggs. I can eat eggs every day. In fact, that's what I had for dinner. I had 6 fried eggs for dinner
Okay. So
and butter.
eggs are my side dish. I eat anywhere between six, eight, or 10 with my meat. So that's a daily
Nice.
thing. And, I like to do challenges every now and again, Martha, as far as like removing something.
Mm.
But I went 2 days one time without eggs since being carnivore, and I was like about to lose my natural black mind. I was like, no, no, okay. I was like, this is not happening. It's not going to work. They're
No,
like my safety filler, like my
you know, I
pacifier. It
I'm
keeps me
so
going.
strict that every time somebody's going to do a challenge about something, I'm like, I don't know what to give up because I'm already
Mhm.
strict. Like, what am I going to give up? I can't give up
Right,
dairy because I
right.
never eat cheese, and the heavy whipping cream is only on the weekends, and that's not
Mhm.
affecting me as far as I can tell. I feel fine, and I'm still losing weight. If it
Mhm.
becomes an issue, I'll address it then. But what else do I give up? Do I do just all beef? I guess for fun,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
fun, I got you.
But
And so you drink coffee, which I wish I could say that I'm jealous of, but I'm almost 21 days. I'm like 19 days in without a cup of coffee after 30 years of consuming
nice.
coffee on a continuum, right? So my goal is to say that I'm a former professional coffee connoisseur,
Oh.
former being the key word.
Hmm.
So I will be in touch with you and I will just keep checking out your channel and drop all of
Awesome.
your info in the footnotes of this interview. And I'm just
And please
excited
subscribe
to
to
know more.
Rose's channel too. She's
Yes.
amazing. She's been doing this way longer than me, y'all.
Oh, but we're in this journey together, regardless of
Yeah.
how we show up, right? We're in the journey together. All right.
Yes.
Thanks again, Miss Martha. Stay
Thank
on
you,
point.
Rose.
All right.